Today we're talking about 1031 exchanges. What are they? When do you use them? What's the upside? What are the potential pitfalls? Let's jump into it. A 1031 exchange is named after IRS code section 1031, and it allows an investor to sell and defer capital gains when selling an investment property and reinvest those proceeds into a similar like-kind property. So what exactly does that all mean? When would somebody ultimately want to do a 1031 exchange? A seller is going to want to do a 1031 exchange when they've got a property, whether it's an aging property that they don't want to invest money in, or maybe they need to have property in a different location geographically for some personal reason. That 1031 exchange is going to allow that investor to sell that property, roll their proceeds into a new property, and not have to pay those taxes immediately on their gains. Really, this is going to be perfect for someone who wants to update their portfolio, maybe expand it. Perhaps they want to sell one, take those proceeds and go into two like properties, or combine two properties and purchase one. Anything where you're really exchanging those like properties, but really the idea is that it's expanding. So let's talk about the benefits of a 1031 exchange. The first and probably most obvious point is the deferred taxes on that capital gains income. You're able to sell something, take those profits, not pay taxes on them because you're rolling them into a new property. Second would really be the potential for increased cash flow. Think in terms of trading up. Again, we're going to sell one property, probably take those proceeds and roll them into another property that's going to be more expensive, but ultimately that's going to mean increased returns by way of rental income, for example. And then the third real benefit here would be diversification of your portfolio and ultimately that ability to expand it. You need to consolidate two properties into one larger property, or maybe you need to expand into a couple of different markets. Really, a 1031 is going to be a great option to be able to take that portfolio and diversify it without taking that tax hit on day one. But what about the potential pitfalls or really the complications that are associated with the 1031 exchange? 1031 exchanges really operate on a very strict timeline. The IRS is very clear about defining the time that you've got to identify your replacement property and then ultimately the time that you've got to then close that property, and there really are no exceptions to that. 1031 exchanges, they're really not do it yourself. This is something that is going to include additional professionals. It's called a 1031 intermediary, and they're the people that are going to take your proceeds from your sale and basically hold them and then be responsible for ensuring that they properly roll over into the new property, not something that you're probably going to just do yourself with your agent, for example. And then ultimately that last potential complication is because now you've pulled in additional professionals, you're going to have additional expenses. 1031 intermediaries do not work for free. So now the process is going to require some additional cash input from you. It's going to cost you money to basically have that rollover happen. Again, not terrible pitfalls, but certainly things that you should keep in mind. And that really covers the high-level ins and outs of 1031 exchanges. Of course, this is not the type of thing that somebody should go into without consulting the proper professionals. You should check with your tax advisor. You might do some preliminary research into a 1031 intermediary, find out what those fees are. Is it somebody that you like working with? Those types of things. And ultimately, if you have any questions, we're always happy to answer. You can reach us at desertdimensions.com or at 480-270-5355.